Welcome to the series where I test out money-making methods from the OSRS Wiki. Feel free to leave suggestions on which moneymaker you'd like to see next. And also, if you didn't already know, I have a nice playlist that I've created that has all of the previous moneymakers that I've already tried, so go ahead and check it out if you haven't already. With that being said, let's get into the video. So for today's moneymaker, I thought we'd go ahead and do Pickpocketing Elves, because I was looking through the OSRS Wiki money-making methods and I noticed that this was a very high option on the list. As you can see, the profit is close to almost 3 mil an hour. This is of course because of the enhanced crystal teleport seed, which we may not get during this 1 hour. I believe it says that it is an estimated drop rate of maybe 1 to every 2.5 hours, and if you have the rogue's outfit, which we do, whenever you do land on that drop, you will get 2 of them, so there is some serious money to be made here. Of course though, there are some pretty high requirements for this moneymaker, probably the biggest one being the completion of the Song of the Elves quest, and a couple of other requirements that you might want to look over before attempting this moneymaker. Now, before starting this moneymaker, I wanted to make sure that I had a pretty good idea of what I was going to be doing, and I figured out that if I move my house to Prifddinas, I get access to a pretty nice method of thieving from these elves. By moving my house to Prifddinas, I'll be able to go inside and use the Ornate Rejuvenation Pool, which will restore my hit points and my prayer, so effectively I don't really have to use any food, so it's pretty nice. And the spot that we'll be thieving from is relatively close. You can already see there's people here, 2 people thieving, so yeah. Now as for the gear setup, I'm just going to be using the rogue's outfit that I got for my last thieving video, which was the Master Farmer thieving video, and honestly it didn't take very long to get it, probably because I had access to the shortcut that you get once you reach a certain thieving level, but still I highly recommend to get this because for a moneymaker like this, you really want a chance at the double teleport crystal seeds, because that'll be a lot of money when you finally land on that drop. Now aside from that, I am also bringing some dodgy necklaces, and this is just to help us with our thieving. I'd say that these are pretty helpful to have here because even with 99 thieving, you will fail at pickpocketing the elves quite a bit. So basically the dodgy necklace just gives us a 25% chance of not being stunned and taking damage, so they are definitely worth it to bring. And then for the cape, I am bringing the max cape because it acts as a thieving cape, which will be very important for this moneymaker. Now as for getting to the spot, you already saw that since we are in Prifddinas now, we can just exit the house and enter this little hut right here where the people are thieving already. I do want to show you another spot that the wiki actually recommended doing. The spot is over here close to the bank. I assume they want you to use this spot because you can quickly bank and get more necklaces and more food if you need it. But since we do have a maxed out house, I figured that it'd be more optimal to use that instead of having to come over here, especially because the area that we're going to be thieving in, it is a very small area and the elf that lives there pretty much never leaves his house, so it's really easy to trap him in there. And for the first time in this series, I will be switching over to resizable mode, and this is just so that I can get rid of the chat box and right click on this elf, and you can basically position your mouse to be where you can right click and left click to automatically pickpocket. Now this really only works if you have someone else here helping you out with thieving him. One of you will stand on one of the sides and then the other person will stand on the opposite side so that he can't move, and that way you can just stay there for 5 minutes or however long it takes until he respawns. Unfortunately, whenever I started this 1 hour of thieving, the 2 people that you saw earlier thieving from this elf left already, so I couldn't trap the elf and I had to basically do it all by myself. I tried hopping through a lot of worlds and searching for anyone who was doing this, but I couldn't find anyone, unfortunately. So yes, this definitely could have gone more smoothly. I suppose I could have used an alt account if I had one that had the requirements for this. I mean, you do need completion of Song of the Elves, and I don't have any accounts that have that other than my main account, so we had to do it by ourselves. It wasn't that big of a deal, but I will admit that my hand was hurting after some time, just like the Master Farmer video. And the difference between this one and that one is that you can't left click thieve from this elf because there's a talk option that kind of sucks. I wish that there was a way to just swap to where you could left click thieve, but I don't think that there's a way to do that within the game's rules. Now, as for the strategy of thieving from this elf, there really isn't any. You kind of just have to position him until where you can do the right click, left click option, and a lot of the times he'll just keep moving, so you'll have to reposition your mouse, and sometimes he'll be in an area where you can't use that, which sucks, but that's just the way it goes. Now, as for what he drops, you will get a bunch of different stuff, as you can see here. Coins, death runes, nature runes, jugs of wine, which do come in handy because you can use those to heal, diamonds, fire orbs, and gold ore. I mainly dropped pretty much everything that I got that wasn't the stackable stuff like the runes or the food that I could use to stay here longer. And speaking of food, I would basically just stay here until my hit points got really low. I believe he hits a max of a 5, so you don't really want to stay here if you have only 5 hit points remaining, but I would stay here until then. I would also use the redemption prayer to get a little more extra hit points, and then once that was out, I would go to the POH, restore my stats, and then run back out through the portal and enter the house once again. Now, since we are thieving from the elves in Prifddinas, they do have 2 other drops that is on their loot table. That is the crystal shards and of course the enhanced crystal teleport seeds, which is what we really want because that's a lot of money. 2.4 mil for one of those, and since we're wearing the rogue's outfit, we'll get 2 of them. So definitely some big money to be made here if you do in fact get lucky. Now overall, I'd say this is a pretty good moneymaker considering how much you can make, and I mean the only obstacle is really the requirements and the fact that you're probably going to have some pain in your right hand or left hand depending on which one you use to thieve from this person. It's not the most fun thing to do, but honestly, it's not bad for the money that you can get. I gotta say though, I was not a big fan of how many times that I failed. The last time that I did thieving, besides the Master Farmer thieving video, was the Arty Knights. I pretty much did that all the way to 99, and once you reach a certain level, you don't fail anymore, so you're just basically spam, left clicking, and getting XP. But thieving from this guy, even with the hard Arty diary done, and the thieving cape, and the 99 thieving level, you fail quite a bit. Here's a nice little chart that shows you what your chances of success are when thieving from the elf with your level and of course the diary. And as you can see, even with the 99 thieving and your diary completed, your chances of success are lower than 50%, so you will be failing more than half the time, which is very, very annoying. But even with that high fail rate, you're still getting some pretty decent XP, as you will see in the end of the video, and of course a chance at some great money if you do get lucky with the crystal teleport seeds. It's also important to note that 97 herb lore isn't required, but it's recommended so that you can make some extra money if you do want to in fact get the money from the crystal shards, since you will have to be making them into super combat potions to make money off of them. Or you could high out them for 6k each, but definitely worth it to make potions instead. And with that being said, we have reached the end of the painful 1 hour of thieving from the elves. And now we can go ahead and do a little price check. We have our coin stack, the diamonds, gold ore, fire orbs. I picked up these items at the end because, well, I don't know. I felt like dropping them would have been a waste, but for the most part, we dropped most of it. Anyways, 291k with the crystal shards, valued at 144,000 if you were to high out them. Now, personally, for this price check, I'm going to save the crystal shards because I'd rather leave them for perhaps the Blade of Saildor so I can get the infinite charged one. But I will calculate them as if I had turned them into super combat potions, divine super combat potions. So here is the cash stack at the very end, 291k, along with the crystal shards that we got. Unfortunately, we didn't get any of the teleport crystal seeds, but if you stick with it, you will eventually get them, and your average profit per hour should be close to 3 mil if you have the rogue set, of course. Still, it was interesting to see how much money we could make in 1 hour without getting the crystal teleport seeds. So if we add up the cost of supplies, which was mainly spent on the dodgy necklaces, we have 11,102 subtracted from 647,181 GP, which was the amount that we got from the crystal shards and the other loot. We get a grand total profit of 636,079 GP. Now, obviously, compared to the wiki, it's a far less amount, but again, we didn't get lucky with the crystal teleport seed, and as you can see, that is a great bulk of the money that you'll be making here. But again, it's still nice to see how much you can make even if you don't get it, which it's a pretty decent amount. After all, we are just thieving, we're not doing some crazy hard PVM. The only, I guess, difficult part about this is that your hand might hurt after a while. Here is a look at how much XP we managed to get in this 1 hour. As you can see, it's a pretty nice amount, 169.6k. I will take that, along with the nice amount of money that we managed to make. And then here is a look at the loot that we got from all of the elves that we thieved. We managed to pickpocket a total of 484 times, it says here, so not bad. Definitely over what the wiki estimated, so that's always nice. I just want to say thanks for checking out the video, and if you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a thumbs up and possibly a subscription. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next episode.